It is the 27th day of November 2021. Good evening to you wherever you are and welcome to News Recap tonight here on Pan-African Television. We're coming to you live in our studios here in Abban, Peswanika Street of Accra. We're broadcasting live across 46 African countries and other parts of Europe via satellite. My name is Abban. Now let's go for a quick commercial break. We'll return with the news in detail. Stay with us. Now, welcome back from that quick commercial break. Now, the news in detail. Now, Member of Parliament for the Northern constituency, Honorable Samuel Okudeto Ablakwa, has insisted that the cost of presidential travels should be made public because it is borne by the states. Now, this comes on the back of calls made by the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Honorable Brian Echampo, to classify information pertaining to the cost of presidential travels.
Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, claiming that he has advised the National Security Minister not to respond to the question. First of all, we want to make the point very clearly that that statement is an affront to Parliament. It is an undermine of the authority of the Speaker of Parliament. Order 66.1 of our standing orders is very, very clear. And for the avoidance of doubt, I want to read that provision. Order 66.1 provides, Mr. Speaker shall be the sole judge of the admissibility of a question. So no member of Parliament, no other person than the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Speaker, admits a question. And the question in issue will relate to the President's May travels to Belgium, France and South Africa. It's a question that has been duly admitted by the Speaker. It does not lie in the mouth of the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee to advise the minister, who only last week was expected to respond to that question. And you know the history. After weeks of government, prevaricating and pussyfooting, the finance minister came and told us that he doesn't have the full, he's not seized with the information on the cost of the travels and that we should go to the National Security Minister. The National Security Minister was eventually programmed to respond last week. The National Security Minister sent a statement to Parliament, communication to Parliament, that he has had to travel. And so we'll be seeking another convenient time to come respond. At no point did the National Security Minister indicate that the information on the cost of the President's travel has been classified as top secret. And so he will not respond to the Speaker's summons to come answer our question. So we want to state clearly that the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee is totally out of order. He is arrogating to himself powers that he does not have. He must stay clear of the Speaker's authority under Order 66.1. Yes. The other point we want to emphasize is that at the time that this government has submitted a budget and is asking the people of this country who are already under excruciating hardship, who are suffering, the government is demanding more taxes from an already burdened Ghanaian populace. Will you believe it that at this time, where the government is demanding more taxes, this same government is refusing to be accountable to the people? How can you be demanding more taxes from the Ghanaian people and at the same time refusing to account to the people? we must emphasize that we do not see any national security consideration in this matter. The Speaker of Parliament did not see any national security bar which should prevent
Now, away from that, now the Corporate Affairs Director of the Consumer Advocacy Center, Benjamin Isuman, has called on government to slash the electronic transaction levy from its initial percentage of 0.5%. Now, according to him, this move will ease the pressures on the life of the ordinary Ghanaians.
In the 2022 budget and economic policy statement, which was laid before Parliament last week, government announced introduction of the electronic transaction levy, which will take effect on February 1st, 2022. The policy has triggered public outcry and widespread condemnation within the country. A pressure group, Consumers Advocacy Center, has added their voice for the levy pegged at 1.75 to be reduced to 0.5 in a press release. In an interview with Modiana Nenate, the institution's Director of Corporate Affairs, Benjamin Isuman, touched on reasons for the reduction.
The 1.75% levy on all cashless transfers or electronically transferred accounts will result in increasing the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian who consumes financial services electronically. So that's the impact of a tax, which is also an indirect tax in this case. Now, the calculation that we are interested in doing is doing that of the mobile money transfers. We are interested in mobile money transfer because it's currently leading in Ghana's efforts to electronically capture financial transactions and take them away from the physical cash market. There are a lot of advantages to be gained by going this digitization, but we think that the 1.75% will erode the gains that we are looking for. Here is it. In the year 2020, the Bank of Ghana announces that we got 569 billion worth of money being transferred on the mobile money platforms. If you are therefore taxing that amount of money and you are taxing it using 1.75, it is up to us to work the mathematics and say that 0.0175, which is 1.75%, times the 569 billion, that will give the government of Ghana about 8 to 9 billion. It's very close, about 8.9 something billion. Now, that amount of money is new money that is coming to the government of Ghana, and it's good. However, what is the government giving as a result of this? The government said that I'm taking toll booths from our highways, and now I'm placing the toll booth on our Momo highway. So the Momo highway will now collect the money that we're supposed to get from the toll booths that we drive through. The toll booths were giving us 78 million. In 2020, the toll booths we collected, all the money we collected from toll booths was accounted for 78 million. Let's grant it that this year we are making even about 80 million. You compare the 8 billion to 9 billion that the government will get from Momo tax alone, and compare it with the 78 or 80 million that it was making on toll booths. It means that the government of Ghana has jumped the revenue that it was getting from the toll booth by 10,000% jump. You know, so if in one fiscal year, in 1 year, the government is able to stop collecting 80 million and grabs 8 billion, 10,000% jump. That is astronomical. And so something must give. we think that the quotation of 1.75 is to the extreme. Look, in Uganda, they tried it with 1%. It failed. The government had to go back to do a review and reduce to 0.5%. And even that had, the mobile money industry has not been able to overcome the boycott that the consumers boycotted the product. It was an exciting growing industry just like Ghana. But as soon as they introduced the 1%, people decided to shy away. Already the telcos are charging something on it. Some are charging 1% and all that. Look, a telephone mobile company invest money into creating a financial banking system on their platform. Okay, a financial transaction platform where your mobile phone is like an account for you to receive or send money. At the end of the day, that company, one of them, we know, Vodafone, is not even charging at all. It's for free because they want to push the digital platform. They want to drive it in so that people will stop handling cash and now be using their mobile phone. So they prefer that you come on Vodafone platform for free. Here they pay the agent that you are depositing the money with. Again, Vodafone pays the agent that you are going to withdraw the money from. And yet they are not collecting any money. The government that has not invested anything into Vodafone to create that platform suddenly pops up and said, I'm taking 1.75 of the business. That is insensitive. That is too much for the business. If the operator is not even taking 1%, how much more can you take? Let's go. MTN. Currently they charge 1%. Currently they charge 1%. The 1% that they take, they give 0.5% to the agent who collects the money for them or who cashes out the money. Then they send 0.25 for themselves as the operator. They don't even take 1% to 0.25. Then they transmit another 0.25, which will be shared to GiftNext and for promotion of the platform and security and all that. That's what is done. Those who have invested billions into the industry do not even take 1%. How come that the government suddenly from nowhere comes and say I'm taking 1.75? That is sheer greediness and lazy man's approach by government. The government thinks that people are now doing mobile money transactions, so they are taking advantage of it. But if you want to take advantage of it, take advantage of it that you are being sensitive, that you don't destroy the plans of the industry. Look, Vodafone has a plan. Their plan is that we are not charging. It's been over a year. I attended meetings at that time that I was saying that, look, what Vodafone is doing, it means that we must review the charges that we are currently applying. People said it was a business decision, so they must rule it just for a time.
Away from that, now the president of the Ghana Union Traders Association, Dr. James Abban, has admonished the government to desist from reviewing the benchmark policy on general goods and cars imported into the country. Now, according to him, the decision could be disastrous if implemented without due diligence.
The benchmark policy was introduced in 2019 to save businesses in the country from total collapse as a result of the very high import duties, other numerous taxes, high fees and charges on imports ranging between 55% to 65%, draining our capital. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, presenting the 2022 budget statement on the floor of Parliament, indicated that the 50% and 30% benchmark values on some 32 selected items have been removed. He explained that the move is aimed at promoting the local production of goods and improving foreign exchange earnings. The decision has received mixed reactions from corporate institutions, and a member of Parliament's Finance Committee, Vincent Kojo Opong Nkrumah, has backed the removal of 50% benchmark policy on some selected 32 categories of items in the 2022 budget statement. According to him, the policy change is consistent with government policy to promote local industry and improve foreign exchange earnings. In an interview with Pan-African News on the said issue, President of the Ghana Union Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Abban, noted that reversing this policy will affect the growth of businesses, and therefore they will not accept this benchmark reversal, which was pronounced in Parliament by the Finance Minister when reading the 2022 National Budget Statement in Parliament.
So the benchmark came as to solve a problem for which the industries also enjoyed. When they are lobbying that the benchmark should be removed from the trading community, they are begging government to maintain same for their produce or inputs that they import. What is the fairness in here? So what we are saying is that we cannot be reversing this to the problem that we haven't, and that's what we say we can't accept, and that we need to sit down with government to see how they can provide some solutions for us.
Reporting for Pan-African News, Daniel Kwabna Asare.
Away from that, now gold is one of Ghana's resources that earns the country a substantial amount for foreign exchange. Now the mining of the resource reserve has, however, since time immemorial had its ravaging effects on Ghana's arable lands and water bodies. It is in this regard that stakeholders in the gold industry have found the need to prefer solutions to the litany of challenges confronting the sector. The gold statement has come out with measures to shore up gains in gold and jewelry. Now my colleague Bless Headman Alamaso has more on this report.
The gold statement is a conference of stakeholders in the gold and jewelry industry aiming at mitigating the negative effect of illegal mining as well as add value to gold production in the country. Speaking at the event, Mr. Ben Ayi, a representative from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, revealed some of government's programs aimed at promoting responsible mining of gold in Ghana.
I believe that one, they should be responsible, that is environmentally mined responsibly, and of course ensuring that there is social responsibility as well, highlighting things like avoiding child labor, conflicts that can be associated with minerals like that. Secondly, they must be mined viably. What does that mean? It means all stakeholders should benefit from the production and feel that they have done so. Else, it cannot be responsible. Indeed, that is why the Minerals Commission and the Geological Survey are investing so much into doing exploration to find suitable areas for small-scale mining. That way, they would make money from their activities and therefore will mine responsibly, taking care of the environment as well, and being responsible in terms of contributing to the national fiscal as well. Then alone can it be sustainable. So for us to have green production, green clean production, we must have responsible, viable, and sustainable mining. That's the goal of government. So further to the responsible and sustainable mining practices that are required by the Minerals and Mining Act, that is Act 703 of 2006. The 2014 Minerals and Mining Policy of Ghana, which has a theme of ensuring mining contributes to sustainable development, notably in Chapter 10, imposes a requirement for securing the maximum benefits and minimizing the costs of mining in Ghana. The key principles or policy objectives espoused by Chapter 10 include creation of linkages, rural transformation and community participation, and sustainable livelihoods. In the light of the legal framework and the policy objectives indicated therefore, the programs and interventions pursued by government aim at achieving responsibility, viability, and sustainability in the sphere of Ghana's mining sector. In the mining sector itself, and the use to which the products of mining are produced, including both the products as we see in the case of jewelry and the revenues that are generated therefrom. Thus, predominantly, programs and interventions targeted at responsible, viable, and sustainable mining in recent times include the following which are going higher. But again, I have said I will not bore you with repeating what the Minerals Commission has already detailed for us. Firstly, exploration, which I've talked about already, noting the collaboration between the Minerals Commission and the Geological Survey. If that is not done, of course, it will lead to the trial and error operations of the small-scale miners, which leads to environmental degradation. So we want to urge all those who are interested in making mining greener to put their money into exploration. That way they will ensure that we are doing small-scale mining. The second activity.
A retired lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, K.A. Asumeni, stressed on the significance of jewelries to Ghanaians and its traditional connotations.
Jewelry in the Ghanaian cultural context is more than just a piece of adornment. It is a visual record of sorts representing our history, belief, religion, and political accounts of the people. The genesis of traditional symbols as elements in our gold jewelry is not well documented, although it is generally agreed that the infusion is associated with some past events. In a rather strict, conservative, archaic cultural environment, as well as others, the use of a particular ornament must commensurate with the status of the wearer. As such, certain categories of jewelry were and even now are reserved for chiefs and overlords of the land. This, however, does not prevent ordinary people like myself from adorning myself with gold. The caution is that when the chief sits in state, his subjects must ensure they do not over-adorn themselves with gold, and above that, over and above that of the chief.
A representative from the Ministry of Trade and Industry raised cogent reasons why partnership is an essential element in developing the sector.
To grow the jewelry sector, there should be a deliberate effort from the Ghana Geological Survey Authority and the Minerals Commission to partner with the jewelry sector to conduct an exploration to identify the potential development minerals for the jewelry sector. There is a need to do for detailed investigation to determine the quantity and the quality of development minerals that have been identified, like jasper. Minerals Commission should look out areas for development minerals that should be set aside for the jewelry sector. If not, the development minerals will be used for other products and there wouldn't be any raw material for the jewelry sector. We should educate the jewelers on the potential minerals for jewelry to promote diversity in the sector. Geological Survey can partner with other organizations to get funds to set up a training, production, and lapidary hub for clay and stone beads.
from that, now Member of Parliament for the Draboso constituency, Kwabena Mita Akando, says government has been negligent on health infrastructures due to key omissions of several uncompleted health facilities in the 2022 budget. Now the ranking member on the Health Committee of Parliament further waded into the low ratio of vaccination in the country.
Dishonesty. Mr. Speaker, again, I think that is not enough. If you go to the 2021 budget, paragraph 996, Mr. Speaker, a number of health facilities have been listed in paragraph 996 of the 2021 budget as projects that they are continuing, Mr. Speaker. These projects, again, have been listed in paragraph 1014 of the 2022 budget as yet to commence. Something that we were continuing in the 2021 budget, now in the 2022 budget, you are telling that you are yet to commence. Dishonesty. Mr. Speaker, the dishonesty in this government is becoming legendary, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I will give examples of such projects. The Tema General Hospital, Shaman District Hospital, La General Hospital, reconstruction of Nkwaza Hospital, Accident and Emergency Center Adoma. Mr. Speaker, these projects were repeated in 2021 budget and 2022 budget with different captions, Mr. Speaker. And we cannot retrogress, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, after talking about Agenda 111, the expectation of every Ghanaian is that we will make plans to recruit more health professionals in the health sector. Mr. Speaker, clearly it is missing in this budget. Mr. Speaker, we will need specialists for the hospitals. Mr. Speaker, it takes an average of 3 years to train a specialist. So your first budget at a cutting sword should give that direction. Mr. Speaker, the worst form of it is that the total staff strength of the Ministry of Health in 2001 budget stood at 251,527. Now, after counting Agenda 111, that it should increase, Mr. Speaker, it is now 203,000 people. It has reduced a difference of about 43,000. Mr. Speaker, what are the people doing? Mr. Speaker, 43,000 people are retired. Interesting. Mr. Speaker, again, the impression created at paragraph 1005 is as though Ghana has just discovered e-health. And we should allow our vice president to be touching everywhere that Ghana have just seen e-health. Mr. Speaker, I will prove to you and this house that the e-health was actually started by the visionary leader, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Mr. Speaker, the e-health was started in 2013, in 2014, and Mr. Speaker, in the 2015 budget, the minister responsible for health then, Honorable Setepe, had this to say. Mr. Speaker, with the permission, I read 2015, Minister for Health, Minister for Finance, had this to say. Paragraph 521. Mr. Speaker, the ministry through NITA embarked on the deployment of an enterprise-level hospital administration, radiology, information and communication systems for managing the healthcare provision needs of Kolebu, Wa Regional Hospital, Zebila District Hospital. This centralized electronic medical record system will provide unique patient ID that can be used by a patient to access medical care nationwide. This is 2015 budget, which is available to this house. Mr. Speaker, progress that were made in 2013, in 2014, in 2015 were all reported in the 2016 budget. Mr. Speaker, again, with your permission, I read, and this is what the minister responsible for finance, Honorable Setepe, has to say. Paragraph 590. Mr. Speaker, in 2015, the ministry continued to deploy e-government applications in government establishment as part of the e-transform project. Mr. Speaker, these include the one-stop service center, e-immigration, e-cabinet, e-parliament, e-justice, and e-health. These are the evidence. Mr. Speaker, all these things were done. What His Excellency John Dramani Mahama didn't do is to impose electronic transaction levy. So, Mr. Speaker, if they think that they do not know what to do, Mr. Speaker, to develop this country, it is not by force. Mr. Speaker, they can leave the good people of this country alone.
Now let's still stay in Parliament, where a Member of Parliament for the Busa North constituency, James Agaga, says government has failed in its promise made to Guineans in the run-up to the 2016 election of providing a secure state when voted into office. Now, according to the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee to Parliament, the state or the country has descended into a state of lawlessness, with crimes being committed with impunity following President Akufo-Addo's assumption of office on January 7, 2017.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister for the Interior said a lot about our country's security. He talked about how they are retooling the security services, and that when they retool the security service, particularly with the passage of the electronic transactions levy, will be able to reduce crime. But, Mr. Speaker, point needs to be made that this government has not committed to fighting crime in our country. They have never been committed to doing this. Apart from their electioneering, sloganeering in 2016, where they created the impression that our country's security was in tatters and that this country was unsafe and insecure. In 2016, I have their manifesto in my hands, where they stated that under an MPP government, and I quote, Ghanaians will feel safe on the streets and in their homes. Ghanaians will go about their daily business in the secure knowledge that their persons, properties, lives are safe under an MPP government. Mr. Speaker, this was in 2016. In 2020, there is no single policy statement in the MPP manifesto in respect of security, and that is why I have alluded to the 2016 manifesto of the NPP. But today, what is the reality, Mr. Speaker? What is the reality on the ground? Are we safe? Do we feel secure? Crime statistics will bear me out that this country has witnessed unprecedented surge in crimes. Police statistics will confirm this. I am not the one saying it. And so before somebody rises to raise objections, Mr. Speaker, let me quickly refer you to crime statistics from the police service itself. When the NDC handed over the reins of governance to the MPP, Mr. Speaker, crime, we saw a massive reduction in crime wave in this country. In respect of armed robberies alone, Mr. Speaker, we recorded 16% drop in respect of armed robberies between 2016 and 2015. But in 2017, Mr. Speaker, we saw a massive surge by 27 percentage points. That was in 2017. The story was totally different in 2018. Then in 2019, Mr. Speaker, we recorded as many as 1,083 cases of robberies. In 2020, this year, Mr. Speaker, we have already recorded 1,086 cases or incidents of robbery. And so whether you are in your house, or whether you are in the streets, or whether you are traveling on our highways, Mr. Speaker, we no longer feel safe under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. This is the reality on the ground.
Now, still in Parliament, now the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Educhum, has urged members of Parliament to approve the 2022 budget and economic statement. Now, according to the Member of Parliament for the Bosomtwe, the educational policy captured in the budget statement will revolutionize Ghana's educational system, putting it at par with some of the best educational systems around the globe.
We are saying to the good people of Ghana that this budget contains their hopes and aspirations. Aspirations for a better future for this country. Aspirations found on the pages of the budget and economic policy document. And if you go to Appendix 10C, 10D, 10E, you become even more excited because it tells you the better days of our nation are ahead of us and not behind us. Our nation is going to make massive investment in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. Talking about building 35 STEM high schools. It's just like building 35 precepts across the country. When we talk about transform junior high schools that have the feel and the look and the contents of a high school so that we can reverse the damage that was done to our education system from the 1987 education reform that reduced high school from 7 years to 3 years. Because the other 3 that was supposed to make it 6, the junior high school, was never implemented as such. You walk across the length and breadth of this nation and you walk into junior high schools where there are no libraries, no science lab, no computer labs, and we still tell the good people of Ghana this is a high school. We borrowed this concept from the United States of America, where junior high schools and high schools are not on the same premises. But in each of those situations, each high school or junior high school have the same facilities. We never did that. Nana Addo Dankwa said we should reverse that trend and that we should build new junior high schools that have all the elements of a high school. So after 3 years of lower secondary education, you can go to upper secondary education, be equipped with 6 years of quality education. And this budget has allocated potential funds for it. I say potential because we have to come to Parliament and get an approval for the loans and the grants that is going to be used. All that I want Ghanaians to know that Nana Addo Dankwa has a vision second to none in terms of education. As I said on the floor of the Parliament, I've heard some colleagues of mine talking about this budget belongs in the dustbin. But I believe this budget will belong to the National Education Hall of Fame when one day we build it. The name Nana Addo Dankwa will be etched in gold in the National Education Hall of Fame the day that we build it. And so will the name Ken Ofori-Atta, the Honorable Minister, be etched in gold the day that we build our National Education Hall of Fame. Because this is laying a strong foundation for the Ghanaian economy to be competitive. We talk about 5 STEM universities. 5 STEM universities. So that all those new regions without universities will also claim a university. And when I hear some colleagues talking about their constituents have told them never to vote for this budget, and if they vote, they should stay in Accra. My response is that maybe you have not read the budget to your constituents. And if you have read it with them, they would rather tell you stay in Accra until the budget is approved, because our hopes and our future is in this budget. This budget is going to take Ghana to a new level where we can compete with the rest of the world. And that is why, as Education Minister, I couldn't have been more excited. This is the budget for the 21st century. Thank you for the opportunity.
Now, still in Parliament on the debate of the 2022 budget statement and economic policy, the Member of Parliament for the Inshaiso constituency, Stephen Amwa, has defended the introduction of some new taxes in the 2022 budget statement and economic policy. Now, Member of the Finance Committee of Parliament stated, amongst other things, that the government's decision to introduce the electronic transaction levy was an action to expand the tax nets of the nation and not to increase the burden on Guineans, as touted by the minority caucus in Parliament.
In-house, you were there. They counted 11 tax components. 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 11. Between 2014 and 2016, this is NDC's budget. Go and read. 26 taxes, either introduced, increased, or restored taxes that had been cancelled by the NDC. This is, look, I can read all of them. Increasing the withholding tax rate on commercial rent from 8% to 15%. Undertaking transfer pricing audit to reduce, that one, it was not increased, sorry. Increasing the withholding tax rate, the figure is there. Expanding the scope of capital gains tax. Reintroducing the windfall tax bill. The next one was 2.5% increase in VAT. Introduction of special electronic point of sale device scheme is here. And this, they are talking about electronic. Check this. Change the basis of petroleum excise duty from specific to ad valorem. I asked them, it's tax increase. I'm not expert in energy. I'm only finance and economics. Increase in the road fund levy. Just 2014, they did 9. Check 2015. They are all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Just 2015. I have 2016. 1, 2, 3. If you add them, about 26 taxes. 26 taxes. Their own budget. 2017 was under the Nana Danko Akufo-Addo MPP government. This is 2017 budget. Go and check. 16 or 15 tax incentives. Taxes that under this government we either extract entirely or reduce. They are here. Abolish 1% special import levy. Abolish 17.5% on financial services. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this thing. Let's all be smart. They cannot always take us for granted. When my brother I respect so much, ranking member, Honorable Atufosi on the floor yesterday, you remember that this economy is sick. And that the yield tax has 3 legs that they are against. 1, remittances are taxed. Remittances. 2, we are not taxing profit. The third thing is that it is a transfer tax. Please, financial services tax. It's an electronic tax. It's a transfer tax. They were taxing remittances. All the things yield tax is doing, it was the transfer tax. They were taking 17.5. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the difference. The difference is only expansion, broadening the tax net that all of you have been calling. The informal sector, we are not taxing them. And another difference is that we have reduced it from 17.5 to 1.7. Ask any honest, God-fearing person in any bank that whether the 17.5 was not transfer tax, which was actually done and affecting electronic transactions all over the world. So this deception, we must stop. This is it. The taxes that we reduce. In any case, let's talk about even the fact that we are supposed to tax this time. Our fiscal space is congested. Highly. And it wasn't the fault of Akufo-Addo's government. Let's call all the professors and call international viewers or whatever experts to come and judge us. About 19 months of pandemic disease. It to the extent that even our PFM Act, Act 9, in 2016, 921, Section 18, makes emphatic statement on 3 conditions under which our fiscal rules and policy.
From the lawmaking house to Nooks. Now, the National Union of Ghana Students has commended the government for removing all road tolls, which will ease off traffic congestion, but urged them as a matter of urgency to employ the affected workers. Now, the press conference held at the University of Ghana City Campus Gallery in Accra, the union further urged the government to use the revenue that will be generated by the e-levy to tackle things stated in the budget, including the Youth Start initiative and development of basic education in the country.
The National Union of Ghana Students, NUGS, which is the largest student organization and represents the interests of students across the country, has joined the chain of stakeholders, adding their voices to the 2022 budget presented by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. The union, though pleased with the scrapping of all road tolls, called on government to absorb all affected workers by gainfully employing them. As a student organization, the union is more interested in the Youth Start initiative, due to the numerous student entrepreneurs spread across the various tertiary institutions who are in dire need of support to either kickstart or boost their business ideas. Yadomboachi Emmanuel, president of the union, urged government to judiciously and evenly allocate available resources without any partisan consideration.
According to the government, e-levy is a new tax measure that will be applied only to the originator of transactions and on electronic payment, which includes fintech platforms, that is financial technology platforms, online banking and mobile money platforms. A new measure, according to the government, is aimed at raising funds to relieve the country's debt situation, which has escalated as a result of the COVID-19 with the various challenges. So the decision to look internally to raise revenue to cater for certain aspects of the economy, we believe is a step in the right direction. However, we would also want government to give us firm assurance and commitment that the revenue that will be generated as a result of the e-levy will be used to tackle the things stated in the budget, which includes the U-Start initiative. The U-Start initiative is of great interest to the youth and Ghanaian students at large. Lots of young entrepreneurs spread across the various campuses in our tertiary institutions are in dire need of a boost to grow their young businesses. It focuses to empower youth entrepreneurs and young individuals with business ideas to expand them and start their businesses respectively. A push which we believe will go a long way to reduce the growing unemployment situation in the country. We would like to urge the government to judiciously allocate the resources, that is, taking into consideration the poor and needy youth who really need this push to develop their imaginative businesses into reality, but not a selected few, especially on partisan merit.
The union also admonished the government to do more stakeholder engagements
While Nukes has called on government to pay the long overdue outstanding arrears of teacher trainees across the 46 public colleges of education in the country, according to the union, payment of the overdue arrears will alleviate the hardship endured by trainees, especially those undertaking their teaching practices.
Again, we would be very pleased to hear the government pay the long overdue outstanding 6-month arrears of teacher trainees across the 46 public colleges of education in the country. This is to help alleviate the hardships on trainees, particularly those undertaking their teaching practice. That is out program segment.
The union further appealed to government through the Ministry of Education to take a critical look at the development of basic education in the country.
Lastly, the union would want to appeal to the government through the Education Ministry to take a critical look at the development of basic education in the country. The union, in our little resources as executives, embarked on a Mix Fix It campaign through which we donated packets of roofing sheet, blocks, cement and other building materials to Yonsu Basic School, Mampon Municipal Ashanti Region, and the new Inyanyano Kojo Basic School in the Central Region respectively, to make their infrastructure fit for purpose. Due to how pertinent we are in relation to basic school development, the union, together with other NGOs, presented a petition to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education on the implementation of the Education Spike campaign aimed at promoting investment in public basic education to improve upon the quality as commercialization adversely impact on its access, equity and standards in the pre-tertiary education. we would like to draw the government's attention to the many underdeveloped basic schools in the country in terms of infrastructure and teaching and learning materials, particularly the provision of textbooks to the basic schools for the new curriculum.
That's how we wrap up on Newsweek Up tonight here on Pan-African Television. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Pan-African Television. My name is Abban. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.